The stars looked cold and distant from the large window of Lunar Command. Admiral Susan Rodriguez stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the activity in the shipyard below. Workers in spacesuits moved like busy ants around the hull of humanity's newest and most secret weapon. The USS Defiant was not the biggest ship humans had ever built, but it was by far the most dangerous. For almost 20 years, the galaxy had lived in fear. The Voidborn Armada had appeared without warning, destroying entire planets and forcing the most powerful alien races to pay heavy taxes just to stay alive. No one had ever beaten the Voidborn in battle. No one knew what they looked like. They only communicated through machines and never showed themselves. Most of the alien races in the Galactic Council thought humans were too new to space travel to be important. Earth had only discovered faster-than-light engines when the Voidborn began their attacks. This was why the Voidborn had ignored humans so far, and this was exactly why humans might be the galaxy's last hope. "Admiral, the final tests are done," said Lieutenant Peter Johnson as he walked into the room. He handed Susan a tablet with the results. "The quantum drive is working even better than we hoped. It's running at 127% of what we thought it could, too." Susan nodded without taking her eyes off the ship. The Defiant shone under the bright lights. Its smooth, dark hull absorbed more light than it reflected. It looked like a shadow given form. "And the crew?" she asked. "Captain Olivia Moore has picked all 48 people. They all fought in the Mars conflict." Susan finally turned away from the window. Such a small group to carry so much hope. Peter looked down at his tablet. "The President wants to know when the ship will be ready." "Tell her 2 days," Susan said. "We just received word that the Voidborn attacked another world. The Arcturians didn't deliver their payment fast enough, so the Voidborn destroyed their third largest colony." She paused. 10 billion people died yesterday." Peter's face went pale. That's more than Earth's entire population." "Yes, and that's why we can't wait any longer." Susan walked to her desk and pressed a button. A 3D map of the galaxy appeared in the air. A red dot pulsed near the edge. "The Voidborn command ship is here, in Arcturian space. They always stay after an attack to make sure the survivors know who's in charge." "That's where we're sending the Defiant?" Peter asked. Susan nodded. "Captain Moore will get her orders today. The Voidborn think they're safe. They think no one can touch them." Her mouth formed a thin, hard line. "They've never met humans before." Down in the shipyard, Captain Olivia Moore walked along the boarding ramp of the USS Defiant. Unlike the large, clumsy ships other races built, the Defiant was sleek and made for speed. What made it special wasn't its size, but what was inside. 20 years of studying wrecked alien ships had taught humans a lot. The Defiant carried weapons no one in the galaxy had seen before. Olivia stopped at the airlock and looked back at Earth hanging in the black sky. Her home. The blue and green planet looked so peaceful from here. No one there knew how close they all were to death. If the Voidborn ever turned their eyes toward Earth, humanity would face the same choice as everyone else: pay or die. But humans had chosen a third option: fight back and win. "Captain, the crew is assembling in the briefing room," said her second-in-command, Frank Bennett. Olivia nodded and followed him inside. The ship still smelled new. The floors and walls gleamed. In the briefing room, 46 men and women stood at attention. Each person was the best at what they did. Engineers, pilots, weapons, experts, scientists, all chosen not just for their skills but for their courage. "At ease," Olivia said. Everyone relaxed slightly but remained standing. "You all know why we're here. For the past 20 years, the Voidborn have terrorized this galaxy. They've destroyed planets, killed trillions, and forced entire civilizations to bow down to them." She pressed a button and a hologram appeared showing a massive black ship. "This is their command vessel, the Eternal Night. No weapon has ever damaged it. No ship has ever escaped from it. It has killed hundreds of ships without getting so much as a scratch." The room was completely quiet. "Our mission is simple. We find this ship, we engage it, and we destroy it." Olivia let that sink in. 2 days from now, we will make the first jump using our new quantum displacement drive. Unlike normal engines that tear holes in space, our drive shifts the ship between different possible states. This means we can appear anywhere without being detected until we're already there. Communications Officer Alan Rogers raised his hand. So this isn't just a test run? We're actually going to attack them? We are, Olivia confirmed. Intelligence says the command ship is running with very few crew members. They've gotten overconfident. Chief Engineer Samantha Wells spoke next. The entropy cannon has never been tested in real combat. The power it needs could tear us apart, Olivia finished. I know the risks, Chief, but Earth can't hide forever. Sooner or later, the Voidborn will notice us. We need to hit them first, and hit them hard. She looked around the room at each face. Some looked scared, others determined. All of them knew they might not come back from this mission. What we do in the next few days will change the history of the galaxy, Olivia said. Every race that has faced the Voidborn has lost. Every battle has ended in defeat or surrender, until now. She straightened her shoulders. We are humanity's best hope. We are the galaxy's last chance, and we will not fail. The room erupted in shouts and cheers. Olivia let them celebrate for a moment, then raised her hand for quiet. Report to your stations. We launch in 48 hours. As the crew filed out, Olivia stayed behind with Frank. Do you think we really have a chance? He asked quietly. Olivia looked at the hologram of the eternal night still floating above the table. The Voidborn ship was 5 times larger than the Defiant. It had weapons that could crack a planet in half. The Voidborn have conquered half the galaxy because everyone is too afraid to fight back, she said. But there's one thing they don't understand about humans. What's that? Frank asked. Olivia turned off the hologram. When we're scared, we don't run. We get angry. And when humans get angry... She smiled, but there was no humor in it. Well, the Voidborn are about to find out. The final hours before launch moved quickly. Every crew member of the USS Defiant worked with quiet focus, checking systems and loading supplies. No one spoke much. They all understood what was at stake. In her private quarters, Captain Olivia Moore looked at a small photo of her family. Her wife and son smiled back at her from their home in Colorado. She touched the photo gently, then placed it in her pocket. If things went wrong, she would never see them again, but if the mission failed, they might not survive anyway. The Voidborn would find Earth eventually. A soft beep came from her door. Enter, she said. Science Officer Eric Mitchell walked in with a tablet. Final checks are complete, Captain. All systems are green. Olivia nodded. And the quantum drive? Ready for its first real test. Eric looked nervous but excited. If it works like we think it will, we'll appear right in Arcturian space with no warning. The Voidborn won't know we're there until we're right on top of them. Good. Olivia stood up. Let's get this started. On the bridge, the crew sat at their stations. Every screen glowed with data. Through the main window, they could see the dark side of the moon and beyond it, the stars. Olivia took her seat in the captain's chair. Status report. All systems ready, said Frank Bennett from the pilot station. Quantum drive charged. To full power. Weapon systems online, reported Tactical Officer John Miller. Entropy cannon ready to fire on your command. Life support and engines at full capacity, Samantha Wells said from the engineering station. Olivia pressed a button on her chair. This is the captain, all crew secure for quantum jump. This is not a drill. She turned to Frank. Set coordinates for Arcturus 7, high orbit. Place us in the shadow of the third moon. Coordinates set, Frank confirmed. Olivia took a deep breath. No human ship had ever attempted this kind of jump before. The simulations said it would work, but simulations weren't reality. Engage quantum drive, she ordered. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the view outside the window changed. The stars blurred, then snapped back into focus. But they were different stars. And hanging in space before them was a massive planet, Arcturus 7, Its 3 moons glowed faintly in the light of its red sun. "Jump complete," Frank said, sounding surprised that it had worked. "We're exactly where we wanted to be." "Scan for the Voidborn command ship," Olivia ordered. Eric's fingers moved across his console. "Scanning now." "Got it. The Eternal Night is in high orbit on the far side of the planet, just as intelligence said it would be." On the main screen, an image appeared. The Voidborn flagship was huge and black, shaped like a cross between a spider and a blade. Strange lights pulsed along its hull. Next to it, the Defiant was tiny. "They haven't detected us yet," John reported. "Their sensors are focused on the planet." "Good," Olivia said. "Everyone remember your training. We have one shot at this." She turned to John. "Bring us around the moon, slow approach. Keep our signature as low as possible." The Defiant moved silently through space, its engines barely glowing. As they came around the moon, they got their first clear view of what was happening. The Eternal Night was firing energy beams at the planet below. Each beam struck a city. From space, they could see the explosions. "They're attacking civilian targets," Frank said, his voice tight with anger. "The Arcturians must have tried to resist," Eric suggested. Olivia's hands gripped the arms of her chair. "Change of plans, we're not waiting. Take us in, maximum speed. John, prepare the entropy cannon." "Captain, if we go in hot, they'll detect us," Samantha warned from engineering. "Good," Olivia said. "I want them to see us coming." The Defiant's engines flared to life, pushing the ship toward the Voidborn vessel at incredible speed. For several long seconds, nothing happened. Then alarms started to sound. "They've spotted us," John announced. "Their weapons are powering up." On the screen, they could see parts of the Eternal Night shifting, opening to reveal weapon ports. The Voidborn ship was turning to face them. "Hold course," Olivia ordered. "Let them come to us." "Captain, they're launching attack drones," Eric reported. On the screen, small black shapes poured from the larger ship. "Hundreds of them. Each. One can destroy a normal ship." "John, don't activate point defense yet," Olivia said. John looked at her with surprise. "But Captain—" "Not yet," she repeated. "Let them get closer." The bridge was silent except for the steady beep of the proximity alarm. The swarm of Voidborn drones grew larger on the screen, rushing toward them like angry hornets. "They'll be in firing range in 30 seconds, Frank warned. Eric was staring at his scanner. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings from the Eternal Night. There are life signs aboard, actual Voidborn." "What?" Olivia turned to look at him. "This is unprecedented," Eric continued, excitement in his voice. "They never show themselves, they never risk capture." "They don't think we're a threat," Olivia realized. "They're curious about us." 10 seconds to drone impact, John said, his hand hovering over the defense controls. "Get ready," Olivia said. "Samantha, prepare to activate the quantum membrane." "On my mark." The drones were so close now they could see them clearly. Each one a small deadly version of the main ship, their weapon ports glowing with energy. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. John counted down. "Now," Olivia ordered. "Activate membrane." The space around the Defiant shimmered slightly. When the first wave of drones hit this invisible barrier, they simply vanished. No explosion, no debris. They were just gone. "Membrane active and holding," Samantha reported from engineering. "Energy absorption at 62% and rising." The second wave of drones hit the membrane with the same result. Then the Eternal Night itself fired, massive beams of energy streaking across space toward the Defiant. When they touched the membrane, they disappeared too. "Energy absorption at 94%, Samantha called out, ready to convert for the entropy cannon. On the screen, they could see the Eternal Night pausing its attack. The massive ship seemed confused by what was happening. "They don't understand what we're doing," Eric said. "Their sensors show their attacks hitting us, but there's no damage." "They're about to learn," Olivia said. She looked at John. "Is the entropy cannon charged?" "Fully charged and locked on target," he confirmed. Olivia took a deep breath. This was the moment that would decide everything. If the cannon worked, they might save the galaxy. If it failed, They would all die here. "Fire," she ordered. For a brief moment nothing seemed to happen. Then a beam of pure white light shot from the Defiant toward the eternal night. When it struck the massive ship, there was no explosion. Instead, a wave of strange distortion spread across its hull. "Direct hit," John reported. "The entropy effect is spreading through their systems." On the screen, they watched as the lights on the void-borne ship began to flicker and die. Its weapon ports closed, its engines shut down. The mighty vessel that had terrorized the galaxy for 20 years was drifting helplessly in space. "It worked," Frank whispered in disbelief. "It actually worked." Olivia stood up from her chair. "Prepare boarding teams. I want prisoners and any information we can get. The war isn't over yet, it's just beginning." The eternal night drifted silently in space, its once threatening form now dark and powerless. On the bridge of the USS Defiant, the crew watched in amazed silence. No one had ever seen a void-borne ship defeated before. "Scan the ship again," Olivia ordered. "I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." Eric Mitchell bent over his scanner. "The entropy effect worked perfectly, Captain. Their power systems, weapons, and engines are all shut down. But life support is still working in some sections, and I'm still detecting those biological signatures. The Voidborn are alive in there." Olivia nodded. "Frank, bring us alongside their main docking port. John, prepare the boarding teams. I want 4 teams of 3, full combat gear." "You're going over there?" Frank asked, concern in his voice. "We are," Olivia confirmed. "This is our chance to learn who these creatures really are, and how they've been able to control the galaxy for so long." 20 minutes later, Olivia stood in the airlock with 11 other crew members. They all wore spacesuits with built-in weapons. Security Chief Daniel White checked each person's gear one last time. "Remember," Olivia said to the teams, "we don't know what these beings look like or what they can do. Stay together, stay alert, and don't take any chances. If something moves and it's not one of us, stun it." The Defiant's docking tube extended to meet the void-borne ship. With a soft thud and a hiss of air, the connection was made. "Atmosphere in the tube is stable," Daniel reported. "But I'd keep helmets on until we know what's in their air." Olivia nodded. "Team 1 with me. Team 2, secure the path behind us. Teams 3 and 4 stand by here until we call." The inside of the eternal night was strange and unsettling. The walls seemed to be made of some black material that absorbed light. Their flashlights only lit up small areas at a time. The corridors were tall and wide with odd angles that made no sense to human eyes. "The ship design isn't practical," Eric said quietly as they moved through the empty halls. "It's like it was made to be scary, not efficient." "Fear is a weapon too," Olivia replied. They passed rooms filled with strange machines. In some, they found the remains of the attack drones that had been stored there. The entropy effect had caused the drones to break down into their basic parts, which lay scattered across the floors. "Life signs ahead," Daniel warned, checking his scanner. 30 meters around that corner." The team moved forward slowly, weapons ready. When they turned the corner, they found themselves in a large, round room. In the center stood 5 tall figures. The Voidborn were not what anyone had expected. They were thin, almost delicate creatures with long limbs and bodies that seemed too frail to be dangerous. Their skin was nearly see-through, showing glowing blood vessels underneath. They had large, many-faceted eyes that reflected the humans, flashlights. The Voidborn made no move to attack or run. They simply stood there watching. "They don't look like conquerors," Daniel whispered. One of the Voidborn stepped forward. Its skin began to pulse with patterns of light that moved across its body like words. Eric studied his scanner. "It's communicating. The light patterns are a language." The device on Eric's belt hummed as it tried to translate. After a moment, a flat, mechanical voice came from it. "Why do you attack? Do you not fear the consequences?" Olivia stepped forward to face the alien. "We attacked because you've been destroying worlds and killing billions of people for 20 years. It was time someone stopped you." The Voidborn's skin flashed with more patterns. "We bring order. We prepare. Without us, all will be lost when they arrive. When who arrives? Olivia asked. The alien didn't answer directly. Instead, it said, You have damaged our vessel. This has not happened before. And it will happen to every ship in your fleet. If you don't leave peaceful worlds alone, Olivia warned. The Voidborn's skin pulsed again. You do not understand. We are not the enemy you should fear. We are merely messengers. Eric's scanner beeped urgently. Captain, I'm detecting some kind of signal being broadcast from the ship, not to their fleet. It's aimed outside our galaxy. What are you doing? Olivia demanded of the alien. What signal are you sending? The Voidborn's skin glowed brighter. You have destroyed a Harbinger ship. The protocol is clear. They must be informed. Who must be informed? Daniel asked, raising his weapon slightly. The true masters, the alien replied, its huge eyes fixed on Olivia. We were once like you. We fought back. We lost. Now we serve. Chill ran down Olivia's spine. You're saying you're not the real threat? That you answer to something else? We prepare the galaxy, the Voidborn said. We strengthen those who can be strengthened. We remove those who cannot. When the masters come, only the strong will be useful. Olivia exchanged a look with Daniel. This changed everything they thought they knew about the Voidborn. Capture them, she ordered. We're taking them back to the Defiant for questioning. The Voidborn didn't resist as the humans surrounded them. They seemed almost relieved, as if a great burden had been lifted from them. Back on the Defiant, the 5 aliens were placed in secure quarters. Eric and the science team began studying the data they had downloaded from the Eternal Night's computers. Most of it is encrypted, Eric told Olivia in her ready room. But what we can read is disturbing. The Voidborn call themselves the Harbingers. They're not conquerors. They're more like scouts or advance forces for something they call the Void, some kind of ancient intelligence from outside our galaxy. So when they attack worlds and demand tribute, Olivia began. It's a test, Eric finished. They're forcing races to advance their technology and unite against a common enemy. The strong ones survive and improve. The weak ones are removed. Olivia looked out her window at the disabled Voidborn flagship. They've been preparing the galaxy for an invasion. Yes, Eric agreed. And we just told whatever's coming that someone managed to defeat one of their advanced ships. How long? Olivia asked. How long until these masters arrive? Eric shook his head. I don't know. The data we have suggests the signal will take time to reach them. Months, maybe years, but they will come. Then we have time to prepare, Olivia said. She turned to the communication panel. Contact Lunar Command. I need to speak with Admiral Rodriguez immediately. When Susan's face appeared on the screen, Olivia reported what they had discovered. So the real war hasn't even started yet. Susan said grimly. No, Olivia confirmed. But we have something none of the other races had. We know what's coming. And we have a Voidborn ship to study. And prisoners who might tell us more, Susan added. The Voidborn ship has technology we've never seen before, Olivia said. If we can understand it, copy it, maybe improve on it. Then we might have a chance when the real enemy arrives, Susan finished. Good work, Captain. Secure the ship and bring those prisoners home. Earth needs to know what we're facing. As the Defiant prepared to jump back to Earth, Olivia stood on the bridge looking at the defeated Eternal Night one last time. They had won a battle today, but a much bigger war was coming. Captain? Frank asked from his station. Are you worried about what the Voidborn told us? About these masters? Olivia's face was determined. The Voidborn have been terrorizing this galaxy because they're afraid. They became servants because they were too scared to keep fighting. She turned to look at her crew. But that's not who humans are. We don't give up and we don't serve anyone but ourselves. If these masters want to come to our galaxy, they'll find something they've never faced before. What's that? Eric asked. Olivia smiled grimly. A species that isn't afraid. To fight back, set course for Earth, Frank. We have work to do. The journey back to Earth was tense. The 5 Voidborn prisoners stayed in their quarters, barely moving or speaking. They seemed to have accepted their capture without fight or argument. Captain Olivia Moore spent hours watching them through the security cameras. The aliens would stand for long periods, their skin occasionally flickering with patterns of light as they communicated with each other. They ate very little of the food provided and drank only water. "What do you make of them?" Olivia asked Eric Mitchell as they reviewed the footage in her ready room. "They're afraid," Eric said. "Not of us, I think, but of what's coming. The way they talk about these masters, it's like they've given up all hope of freedom." Olivia frowned. "A species that gave up fighting and chose to serve instead. Maybe they had no choice," Eric suggested. "Whatever defeated them must be incredibly powerful." The quantum jump back to Earth took only moments, but it felt like the longest part of the mission. When the Defiant appeared in orbit around the moon, they were immediately surrounded by escort ships. News of their success had traveled fast. Admiral Susan Rodriguez was waiting when they docked at Lunar Command. She watched as the Voidborn were led off the ship in special containment suits designed to block any signals they might try to send. "So these are the creatures that have terrorized half the galaxy," Susan said, studying the tall, thin aliens, with their strange, glowing skin. "They look fragile," Olivia finished for her. "We thought the same thing. But don't let appearances fool you. They controlled thousands of worlds through fear. And now we know why," Susan said. "Take them to the secure facility. I want to talk to them myself." The debriefing took hours. Olivia and her senior crew explained everything they had discovered. The effect of the entropy cannon, the strange technology of the Voidborn ship, and most importantly, the revelation that the Voidborn were merely servants of something worse. "We've started analyzing the data from their ship," Eric explained, showing Susan the information on a large screen. "Most of it is still encrypted, but we've learned that the Voidborn, or Harbingers, as they call themselves, were once a peaceful race from a galaxy near ours. About 300 years ago, something they call the Void invaded their home systems." "What exactly is this Void?" Susan asked. Eric shook his head. "That's not clear yet. The Harbingers describe it in almost religious terms. The devouring, emptiness, the end of all things. Whatever it is, it conquered their entire civilization in less than a year, and turned them into scouts," Olivia added. "The survivors were given a choice, serve or die. They chose to serve." "By terrorizing other species?" Susan asked. "By preparing them," Eric corrected. "The Harbingers believe that only the strongest, most advanced races will be useful to the Void when it arrives. They attack worlds to force technological development. The races that survive become stronger." Susan looked troubled. "And the ones that don't survive?" "Are deemed unworthy," Eric said quietly. "Better to remove them now than waste resources later, according to their logic." "That's monstrous," Susan said. "They don't see it that way," Olivia explained. "They see it as mercy. Better a quick death now than whatever the Void does to those it conquers." In the days that followed, teams of scientists and engineers swarmed over the captured Harbinger ship, now towed into Earth orbit. Every system was studied, every piece of technology analyzed. The quantum membrane and entropy cannon had worked, beyond expectations, but the Defiant was just one ship. Earth would need a fleet to face what was coming. 1 week after the Defiant's return, Olivia was called to a high-security meeting with world leaders and military commanders. Susan met her outside the door. "Are you ready for this?" Susan asked. Olivia nodded. "What's the plan?" "That's what we're here to decide," Susan replied. "But I can tell you this much. We're not waiting for this Void to come to us. We're taking the fight to them." Inside the room, representatives from every major nation sat around a large table. On screens along the walls, the leaders of the Galactic Council races watched as well. This was the first time many of them had ever seen humans. President Kate Harrison stood at the head of the table. "Captain Moore, Admiral Rodriguez, please join us. We've been discussing our next steps." Olivia took her seat, aware of the alien eyes watching her from the screens. These were the races that had been paying tribute to the Harbingers for years, never daring to fight back. "The Harbingers have controlled this galaxy through fear," President Harrison said. "They isolated species from each other, preventing any united response that changes today. She gestured to the aliens on the screens. We've extended a hand of friendship to the council races. Together, we stand a better chance against what's coming. The void, a tall, blue-skinned alien said from one of the screens. We have heard whispers of this term in the Harbinger demands, but never understood its meaning. None of us fully understand it yet, Susan admitted. But we're learning more. Every day from the captured Harbingers in their ship. How did you defeat them? Asked another alien with 4 eyes and green scales. We've tried every weapon we have. Nothing could penetrate their defenses. Eric stood up and explained the quantum membrane and entropy cannon. As he spoke, Olivia watched the aliens' reactions. They seemed amazed but also suspicious. You developed this technology in secret? The blue alien asked. While the rest of us suffered? We were lucky, Olivia said, stepping in. The Harbingers ignored Earth because we were new to space travel. They didn't see us as a threat or even worth testing. That gave us time to study their technology from a distance and find its weaknesses. And now you wish to share this technology with us? A third alien asked, this one looking almost like a giant insect. Yes, President Harrison confirmed. In exchange for an alliance, the signal the Harbingers sent will eventually reach the void. We don't know how much time we have, but we need to use it wisely. The meeting continued for hours as they discussed plans for sharing technology, building defenses, and preparing for war. By the end, a new alliance had been formed, the first time in the galaxy's history that so many different species had agreed to work together. As they left the meeting, Olivia felt a new sense of purpose. Do you think it will work? She asked. Susan. This alliance? Susan looked thoughtful. I don't know. But I do know that humanity has never backed down from a fight, even when the odds seemed impossible. And now we've given the rest of the galaxy something they haven't had in a very long time. What's that? Olivia asked. Susan smiled grimly. Hope. 6 months passed quickly. Earth and its new allies worked together with an urgency born of shared fear. The alliance named itself the Galactic Defense Pact, and its first project was to build more ships like the Defiant. Captain Olivia Moore stood on the observation deck of Earth's largest orbital shipyard, watching as workers put the finishing touches on 10 new warships. Each one was built using the technology taken from the captured Harbinger vessel, but improved by human engineers. They're beautiful, aren't they? Admiral Susan Rodriguez said, joining her at the window. Olivia nodded. The quantum drives are 30% more efficient than the original Defiance, and the entropy cannons have twice the range. Susan smiled with pride. The Arcturians contributed the improved shield technology, and the Centauri added their stealth systems. Working together is making us all stronger. Below them, Earth gleamed blue and white. Around it, ships from a dozen different worlds moved in steady streams, bringing materials and technology to the growing fleet. The planet had become the center of the alliance, partly because of its location far from Harbinger space, but mostly because humans had been the first to successfully fight back. How are the Harbinger prisoners? Olivia asked. Susan's expression grew more serious. Still cooperative. They seem almost happy to help us. I think they've been waiting for someone to defeat them for a very long time. Have they said anything? More about the void? Only that it's ancient, older than any civilization we know of. They say it doesn't just conquer, it consumes. Worlds, resources, knowledge, even life itself. Susan shook her head. We're still not sure what that means. Exactly. A soft beep came from Susan's communicator. She looked at it and frowned. We need to get to command. Now. At Lunar Command, a group of officers and scientists were gathered around a large display showing the edge of the galaxy. A dark area was visible, larger than it had been the day before. It's accelerating, said General Ryan Banks, pointing to the readings. 6 months ago, our long-range sensors detected this disturbance at the very edge of our detection range. Now it's moved, almost a quarter of the way toward the core systems. Is it the void? Olivia asked. Eric Mitchell, who had been promoted to head of the Alliance's science division, nodded grimly. All readings match what the Harbingers described. It's not a fleet of ships. It's more like a wave of darkness, It consumes light, energy, even the background radiation of space itself. How long until it reaches inhabited space? Susan asked. At its current speed, 3 months, Eric replied. Maybe less if it continues to accelerate. General Banks pointed to various spots on the map. We've positioned early warning stations here, here, and here. If the void follows its current path, these will be the first systems in its way. And our fleet? Susan asked. The first 20 ships will be ready in 2 weeks, Banks replied. Another 30 within a month after that. It's not enough, Olivia said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Look at the size of that thing, she continued, pointing at the display. Even with all our ships, we can't stop something that big. We need another approach. Eric rubbed his chin thoughtfully. The Harbinger said the void consumes. What if we could use that against it? What do you mean? Susan asked. The entropy cannon doesn't just disable ships, Eric explained. It reverses the natural flow of energy. What if we could create a much larger version, something that could affect the void itself? Is that possible? General Banks asked skeptically. Eric shrugged. I don't know, but it's worth trying. Captain Moore is right. Conventional weapons won't be enough. In the weeks that followed, a new plan formed. While the fleet continued to grow, a special team, led by Eric and Olivia, began working on what they called Project Reversal, a massive entropy weapon built into an entire planet. The chosen world was a small, uninhabited planet near the edge of Alliance space, directly in the path of the approaching void. Thousands of engineers and workers transformed its surface, building enormous energy collectors and the largest quantum membrane generator ever created. 2 months later, Olivia stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant, now the flagship of the Alliance fleet. Around her, 50 ships from Earth and its allies held position around the modified planet. The void will reach this system in 12 hours, Eric reported from the science station. All readings show it's continuing to accelerate. Olivia nodded. And Project Reversal? Ready, Eric confirmed. The entire planet is now one giant entropy weapon. When the void tries to consume it, the weapon will activate, reversing the flow of energy back into the void itself. And if it doesn't work? Frank Bennett asked from the pilot station. Then, we fight, Olivia said simply. We use every ship, every weapon we have, and we don't stop until we win or we can't fight anymore. The hours passed slowly. The crews of the fleet prepared their ships, checked weapons, and waited. Many sent messages home to loved ones just in case. In her quarters, Olivia recorded a short message for her family, then returned to the bridge. As the final hour approached, she addressed the fleet. This is Captain Moore. In a few minutes, we will face an enemy that has consumed entire galaxies. The Harbingers gave up without fighting. They chose to serve rather than resist, but that is not our way. She paused, looking at her crew. Humans don't surrender. We don't serve. And we don't run away. Today we stand with our new allies and we fight for our homes, our families, and our future. Whatever happens next, remember that we faced this darkness together. And we did not blink. The first signs of the void's approach were subtle. Stars at the edge of the system began to dim and disappear. Then the darkness became visible, a wave of nothingness that consumed everything in its path. Project Reversal is armed and ready, Eric reported. The planet's core is now generating 10 times the energy of Earth's sun, all channeled into the entropy field. All ships maintain position, Olivia ordered. Let it come to us. The darkness moved toward the planet, drawn to its energy. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, as the edge of the void touched the world's atmosphere, the entire planet began to glow with white light. It's working, Eric shouted. The entropy field is reversing the void's consumption process. On the main screen, they watched as the darkness that had been spreading across the galaxy began to withdraw, pulled back toward the planet. The light grew brighter, almost too bright to look at. What's happening? Olivia asked. The void feeds on energy, Eric explained excitedly. But the entropy field is forcing it to release that energy instead. It's being turned inside out. The light flashed once, blindingly bright, then faded. Where the edge of the void had been, there was now only normal space, stars shining as they always had. "Is it gone?" Frank asked. Eric studied his readings. "Not completely, but it's retreating, fast, moving away from our galaxy." A cheer went up across the bridge, echoed by similar celebrations throughout the fleet. Olivia smiled but kept her focus on the main screen. "Keep monitoring it," she ordered. "I want to be sure." 3 days later, long-range sensors confirmed that the void had left their galaxy entirely, retreating back into the darkness between galaxies. The threat, at least for now, was over. In the conference room aboard the Defiant, Olivia met with Susan and representatives from the Alliance races. "Our scientists believe the void will not return for many years," said the Arcturian ambassador. "Perhaps centuries. It will need time to recover from what your weapon did to it." "Then we have time to prepare," Susan said. "To build better defenses, to strengthen our alliance, and to free the world still controlled by the Harbingers," Olivia added. "Now that their masters are gone, maybe they can remember what it was like to be free." The blue-skinned ambassador nodded. "This victory belongs to all of us, but it would not have happened without humans. You showed us that it was possible to fight back." Olivia smiled. "That's what humans do. We don't accept that something is impossible just because no one has done it before." Later, as the Defiant began its journey back to Earth, Olivia looked out at the stars from her ready room. They seemed brighter somehow, now that the shadow of the void no longer hung over them. A galaxy that had lived in fear for decades was free at last. And it had all started with one ship, one crew, and one species that refused to be afraid. Humanity had changed the galaxy forever. And this was just the beginning.